Hi, my friend. Welcome to Inspired to Run podcast. Today, we have the privilege of sitting down again with Kayla Cittadino. Kayla turned her life around in 2018 after making the decision to return to a healthier lifestyle. What started off as a 75-pound weight loss journey turned into becoming a two-time American Ninja Warrior, Spartan OCR athlete, a DEKA World Championship competitor, and podcast host of her mindset-based podcast, Taco About It Tuesday. Welcome to the show, Kayla.
Hello. I'm so excited to be back.
Well, it's exciting for me to get an update on what's been going on since our last interview. I know it's been only a few months, but I'm sure you've made, tremendous progress in your training and your fitness and your races. So love to hear about that, and really love to hear about all the new things you're doing with Underdog Fitness. So for our listeners, this is part 3 of our series as Kayla has joined Underdog Fitness as a coach. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about her focus on DEKA and hybrid training and her philosophy and just a lot of cool things that Kayla has to share with us. So let's kind of get into the conversation. And first, over the last few months, Kayla, what's kind of new in your life and in fitness?
Yeah, so it's funny. The last time that we chatted, it was the day before the DEKA Strong, DEKA Mile event at Underdog. And I was talking a lot about just being super confident and the training and the work that I've put in and doing my best race the next day. And lo and behold, I hit a new PR. I went for 13:03, got like the 4th place fastest female time in the entire world. And I actually hit my goal of qualifying for Elite 15 in my second year of training for DEKA. So it has been such a wild ride since then. I've qualified for several team races. I know that Kevin Gregory and I are doing the elite teams for DEKA Mile. I've got 6 races lined up for World Championships. One of them that I'm super excited about. I got talked in the last time I was out in Connecticut. I got talked into doing the ruck division. And so I put on the ruck for the strong, set the new female world record there. So it has just been like one amazing thing after the other. And quite honestly, it doesn't even feel real because I don't know how to win. I've never won this much before or just succeeded so much at this level. So this has been truly a breakout year. And so I'm just trying to enjoy the process, enjoy the moments leading up to World Championships, knowing that, a lot of it is going to be out of my control on the big day in December. But I want to enjoy these little moments right now of just the training and the excitement to get there, because that's really where the success is for me, is these moments where you're doing the hard, gritty workouts in the gym. And just like I said, be present, enjoy those, and when it's time, let it rip. So lots of fun stuff going on.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And,
Thank
it's a
you.
privilege for me to witness some of that success and see you perform. And I'll be able to watch you at World Championships as I qualified for one of the races as well with my teammate,
Yeah.
Mickey. So I'm excited about that. So I'll be there for some of those races. And I love what you said about enjoying the process because, you know, you don't really always know what the end result will be or the outcome. Of course, you can visualize it. Of course, you know where you want to go, but it just all depends on how it comes together on race days. So I think it is important for you to enjoy the process. And especially on the days that you don't want to get out of bed and do it, which happens to me sometimes. And, today's an 18-mile run for me as I do a build for a marathon. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. So the same face you made is the face I've been making for the last couple of days thinking about it. But I got to get out there and I got to do it and I got to make the best of it. So I really love what you said about enjoying the process. So, let's talk a little bit about DEKA. So we talked
Yeah.
about, with the other Underdog coaches, kind of their areas of focus. And I know yours is around DEKA. And we've had
Mhm.
this topic on the show, but I feel like you bring kind of a unique perspective and a lot of energy to the sport, especially given your mindset and your success. So, let's first talk about for the listeners who may not be doing hybrid races today. Maybe they're running road races. They're thinking about doing something a little bit different. Like,
Yeah.
why DEKA for someone who is not just a, but someone who's a traditional runner like myself, who's looking to do something a little different.
Yeah. So what I love about DEKA is that it has so many different disciplines. So of course it's considered a part of hybrid racing, but at its core, it bases itself off of 10 functional fitness zones. And these zones are something that anyone for the most part that the general population can do. And I won't go through every single one of those 10 zones because we would be here forever, but those 10 zones never change, but the disciplines do change. And so, for example, they have something that's called a DEKA Strong. That's where I primarily spend a lot of my time because I didn't grow up being a traditional runner. So for me, I was like, the less running, the better. And it's just you go from one station to the next as fast as you possibly can. On the other side of that, you have something that's called the DEKA Fit, and this is where they actually founded their races from is 500-meter runs in between each of those 10 zones. Then they ended up bringing in the DEKA Mile, which is the in between, and I actually really enjoy that race style too because you get 160 meters of run. It's not too long. It's just the perfect amount for those of us that aren't running, or at least that skilled in running yet. And you do that in between each of the stations. So I love that you can do things at the affiliate level where you can go and travel either within your state or neighboring states. Like I said, I traveled out to Connecticut to meet all of you guys, which was super fun. And then you can travel out to other states for DEKA Fits where they do their really big events and you get to meet people from all around the world. So they're really awesome events that are just so well rounded and testing things that it kind of sniffs out the weaknesses that you have as an athlete. And I think that's what I've come to love is, like I said, I didn't come from the traditional running background. I actually played dance. I was a dancer. I played softball growing up. So cardio like was somewhat my thing growing up, but then I really, after again went through the whole journey of losing weight, I picked up heavy weights and I loved strength training. So when I heard of the DEKA Strong, I was like, this is up my alley, and was completely humbled with how much cardio it was. I was like, oh my God. So what it did was it allowed for me to focus on something that I wasn't focusing on. And, how great is it that I get this incredible aerobic base now paired with just this ultimate strength that I feel like I've never had. I really do feel like I'm in the best fitness in my life. And it's because I said yes to DEKA. And saying yes to DEKA, for those of you guys that are looking to do the same, you're not just saying yes to this one race, you're also going to be training in a way that allows for you to say yes to so many other things. And that's what I love about movement in general is like if you're training for one thing, I got to pick up a couple of other races. Some of them were, very hybrid focused, where it was like you did Ninja Warrior for one part of the competition, you did strength for another, endurance, speed. And I won it, and I had like no way that I could have done it had I not been training in this way. So you just get to broaden your horizons. And that is so cool to me, is being able to say yes to so many other things and show yourself that you can do things that maybe one time seemed impossible.
Yeah, I so agree with what you said. And, that's kind of what I'm looking for out of DECA because I'm really looking forward to having the training and the workouts that I've been doing for DECA really help me in my road races. And that's kind of how I've been approaching it. Although I had this lofty goal this year of making it to World Championships, but really my focus has been on my road races, right? My
Yeah.
5Ks, half marathons, and as I just mentioned, my first full marathon. And it's interesting, but what you said about yes to DECA, because I said yes to DECA kind of coming out of COVID, where I wasn't really ready to go back to like large crowds and big races, and what you mentioned about having the affiliate gyms, and it was a smaller crowd and more intimate, and you knew a lot of the folks. So for me, it was a way to kind of jumpstart or restart my fitness after not being in a gym for a year plus and all of that. So for me, I was just like, wow, I really found something that I enjoy doing most of the time, right? Maybe during the race, I don't know if I enjoy it as much, right?
Same.
But I really do enjoy kind of the process, and I enjoy the accomplishments and everything that comes out of it. But again, hoping that it translates into better performance kind of in my road races. So similar to your story, although for me, it's the road races, and your story is more still around that kind of OCR and hybrid. So let's talk a little bit about your mindset in terms of DECA and hybrid training. So I know you talk a lot about this on your show, and I know a lot of it is a mental game, right? So when you talk about DECA, a lot of it is short bursts. It's really, you're really going hard after the stations, especially if you're doing teams, and it's a different kind of training. So let's talk a little bit about mindset going into DECA.
Yeah. So I will say this is obviously when you say yes to DECA, there is a decent amount of physical strength, endurance, stamina that you need to have. And I think that's what a lot of people focus on is trying to train for that. But what I realized stepping up to the starting line of my very first world championships in 2023 is that in that moment, I remember like shaking in my boots, not just because you're nervous, right? Like it's a big moment. It's the first time that I'm on, a world championship stage like this. But you realize, like, like you're doubting yourself more than you want to. And that doubt comes from not doing the mental work inside of those workouts, right? You're just sitting there beating yourself up, trying to do these high intensity workouts, and you're training out of this scarcity and you're training out of this fear of like, what if I'm not doing is enough? And that's where burnout comes from, right? And so for me, when I think about DECA and I think about training for DECA, yes, it's important to take the times to go there, take the times to go do those hard workouts, get gritty with it. But quite honestly, you guys, a lot of these workouts, a lot of what you should be doing should be building your confidence. It should be building that mental perseverance and resilience. Because again, I wish that I had that when I stepped up to the starting line. Because all I was, like I said, is I was doubting my abilities to do the thing that I needed to do to go out there and execute. I didn't know what my strategy was. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was just praying that I was going to make it past the bike. Like it was just focused on all of the wrong things. So I knew that I had the capabilities to go out there and do great things. And that's why I reached out to my coach now, Kevin Gregory. Like he allowed for me to not only focus on that physical piece, but put workouts in front of me that did just that, that built the mental piece in me, that helped me build the confidence, helped me build the strategy inside of my head, what it is that I needed to do to go out there. And so if you're looking to do well within DECA, if you're looking to approach DECA in a different way, do it with intention. And that intention comes from thinking about two things in my mind. The first thing is who is the athlete that you want to show up as on the starting line, whether it's the starting line of an affiliate gym or it's the starting line of a world championship or a big event like a DECA Fit. If you ask yourself that question, ask about it not in the way that like what's the outcome that happens, but who is that person, right? Like how do they show up? How do they interact with people? Like how do they act in the race when something doesn't go their way? Like think about all of these different things, and that to me, like that's what gives me the inspiration to do big things and to be something great is I think about who that Kayla is, and it's this joyful, sunshiny, full of energy, just loves to be their person. And so then I think about secondary to that is if I want to show up as that person, how does that person need to ultimately train, right? How do they show up in all different facets of their life? And that's how it builds my training, right? Granted, I know that I'm getting training from Kevin Gregory, but when I go to my gym and I approach that training, I'm looking at it from a completely different lens of, I got to hit this hard and I got to accomplish this outcome. I go internal and I think about, okay, what is it that I have to give for this day? One book that I've been actually reading recently is A Champion's Mind. And this book has talked a lot about never settle for silver, always go for gold. And when I first read that, I struggled a little bit with it because I was thinking, well, it feels like for me, I have to always go for perfection. But that's actually the opposite. Once I started to really mull that over and do, some workouts with that kind of thought process in my mind, I realized that it's less about perfection and it's more about giving 100% of what you have in the tank for that day. So if I only have 30% in the tank because maybe I've spent a lot of other stuff in my tank earlier in that week from other things in life, some stress that's going on, whatever it may be, well, I'm going to give that 100% of that 30% that I have in the tank for that day. And that for me is going for gold. But I also think of things about not just the energy that I'm exerting, but again, the person that I'm showing up as in the gym. Am I taking the time to impact and serve and lead other people? Yesterday, I was hitting a really hard DECA workout, and there's a girl that's doing her second DECA ever that's coming up next weekend in our gym locally. And I was like, I saw you doing some ski erg stuff. If you're open to it, can I help you with something? Right. And so I took time out of my workout to go and help her. And that for me was not settling for silver. That was going for gold because I did more than just, showing up for me as an athlete. I also showed up for other athletes and I led and served in a way that felt good to me. So again, the whole mental piece of DECA, I know that this is really high level and it's different than probably what most of you have heard. But I think what this does is this lens takes us out of like this fear the scarcity training of, am I doing enough to beat the person next to me? And now it's bringing it totally internal to make it about beating the you versus you race. Because that's what I love about DEKA. And I hope that's what you too, Richard, love about DEKA is, yes, of course, that when you're on a world championship stage, there's people racing next to you and you want to do well. But when it's just you out there on the course, it's always about how well that you can do versus you from the last time and just trying to get a little bit faster, get a little bit better. And so when I always approach this of who do I want to show up in this race as today and build my training off of that specifically, that's when I see the magic happen. And that's when I ultimately perform to my ultimate best. So I would say, like, from the mental standpoint, that's where I'd recommend for people to start. And another big realization, this is where I'll leave it for the mindset piece, is realizing that yesterday during my workout, I was doing a DEKA mile training. So one of the things that I magically qualified for, I don't know how I did it, is I qualified for the Elite 15 DEKA mile. When I originally qualified for this race out in June, I was like, you know what? I just want to check this thing off the list. I already did the fit this year. Hated the fit because, again, the running was really intense for me. Love the strong. Let's try something in between and say I did the trifecta this year. This will be awesome. So I went in it with it just like, I'm just going to go see what I can do. And I put up this blazing fast time that was like 7th in the world. And I was like, uh-oh, I guess I'm good at this. So I had this moment right before I decided to sign up for all my races of like, well, I'm qualified. Like, should I go for it? Like, I don't think that I'll get the podium, but that's not the point. I loved this race because of who I got to show up as within this race. And so I was like, you know what? This would be my first race that I would get to do. First time in Elite 15. Why not just go and have fun? Because that's what this whole experience is about. So I end up signing up for it. So now flash forward to now, here we are in this prep. And I'm like, okay, I just got to go a little bit faster. I have to improve my running form. And the first time that I hit this workout, I was like, okay, I'm going to go really, really fast and then trying to manage the stations. That hurt. That hurt a lot. And then the second time I was like, I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to run at what feels more of a genuine pace to me and where I'm at in my journey. And then I'm going to do the stations in the way that I know how to crush them. I got the same exact time both
Hmm.
times. And what I realized that was, my strengths are more than enough. I don't need to go out there and race Tara Jackson's race or race all of these high level runners' race. Let them run, let them do their thing. I'm going to do my thing and do what I enjoy, which is crushing the stations and showing up with my best strategy. And so I say that because a lot of us, again, even though by asking ourselves those two questions at the very beginning, like I mentioned, even though it gets us into that mindset, when we're training for something this big, it's still easy to dip into the, well, I want to do really well. How am I going to fare against my competitors? And we start to compare ourselves. We start to think about, well, I have to improve in all these different things. And it's like, no, let's think about how we can maximize on our strengths and realizing that our strengths as an athlete is more than enough. Let's stop trying to chase the strengths of other people and just really hone in on what it is that we can bring to the table. Because that's what's gotten me my success so far. And I've had so much more fun doing it rather than comparing myself to every other competitor out there. So hopefully that's like a different lens of how to look at not just even training for DEKA, but training for other races and hybrid and honestly training for life.
Yeah, yeah. So you shared a lot of great insights, and some of the things that you just shared about not comparing yourselves to others. And I think there's a saying about that's the thief of joy. If you're
Yes.
comparing yourself to others, and I always try to use sayings, and I never get them right. So I'll keep
You
trying
did a good
though.
job.
Thank you. So I agree with what you said. And the first thing that you do after you run the race, what do? You look at the leaderboard, right? And you say, well, how did I do versus others? And preparing for world championships are like, all right, well, where do I got to be? Again, looking at that leaderboard. So I totally understand what you're saying. I think that's a natural human tendency for us to go and do that. So I really love how, you're approaching that. So we're not getting all wrapped up in that. It's like really understanding what are your strengths? What are you really good at? What are the areas you need to work on? But just show up who you are and do, give that 100% like you had talked about. So I really love how you said that. And speaking of showing up who you are, it's funny how you described yourself, how you're smiling and you're full of energy. Every photo, every video, every time I see you in person, that's who you are. So that was a very accurate description of yourself, and I think you bring a lot of joy and energy to others. So keep being who you are. So that's
Thank
really
you.
cool. And so and I love some of the other insights that you shared around building confidence. And that's definitely been my journey. In particular, right? So I've been in a place where I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I'll never do this, or I'll never do that until I do it, right? And that's obviously with the help of others, like you and Coach Kevin and others within this community of helping me do those things that, quite frankly, I grew up never thinking I could do. So I think that's a
Mhm.
really important point, because I think there's probably a lot of other folks thinking that same way, or not thinking of themselves as, on the podium, or as, kind of one of these elite athletes such as yourself. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
all those wonderful insights. So let's talk about you for a few minutes here. So again, through all of your successes and your journey has kind of led you to this point where you're helping others, and you shared an example of how you took time out of your own training to help somebody in the gym. And so I think you are a great coach. You're already doing this, and I'm happy to see you join the underdog team in this way. So let's talk about your focus and your philosophy on training as a coach, and even the type of clients that you're looking for.
Yeah, totally. So it was such an honor to be asked by Kevin to join the underdog training system. Like, it's just crazy to think a year ago in December when I saw him race for the first time that I was so nervous to reach out to him on Instagram and be like, I wonder if he would train someone like me. And now we've become not only just great, like a relationship between a coach and a mentor, but great friends. And just being able to take this relationship from where it started to where it is now to be able to help him grow underdog and the brand. It's such a cool experience. So when we talked about what it is that I wanted to bring to the team, I was all in on DEKA. Nothing against Hyrox, nothing against anything else. As you can see, I'm very passionate about it and what it can bring to people's lives. And I want to get more people that are sitting on the sidelines of their life questioning if they can do big things. This is where I want them to play because of how much it's brought to so many of our lives. So that's really where I focus right now. I'm pretty thick, and I have got 7 women. It's a great lady gang, y'all. I've got 7 women going to world championships this year. So I'm right now in the thick of preparing with them, keeping the energy high, making sure that they're again building their confidence as they get to step on the national stage. Some of them, I think 3 of them for their very first time. So it's exciting to get to watch them do that. But I also have a couple of athletes too that are gearing up for the 2025 season. So the 2025 season just started, I believe, in after the September 15th. So it started at end of September going into October. So for people that are trying to get started and build some focus right away so that they could hit the year running, since again, these events are going all year round. I'm helping them hit the ground running so that way they can qualify early for some of them that have some big goals to go to world championships next year. So, but as far as my overall training philosophy, um, it goes back honestly to my overall journey because I have a really interesting lens on this. And what's really cool is I was listening to Ricardo's episode yesterday around him and I have a very similar story with the weight loss journey and how he got into DEKA. So I don't want to repeat too much there because so much of it is so similar. But, when I first started my weight loss journey, a lot of it was around aesthetics and what it is that I wanted to look like, being able to fit back in certain clothes or see a certain number on the scale. And that stuff is just so not important in relation to the bigger picture in life. And so when I started to switch from what it is that I looked like to the things that I wanted to actually accomplish in life, that's again where I started to find joy and I really started to live. And so I wanted to take that same mindset into my personal training when I started to do that again after I made the transition from going to corporate world to being an online health coach and then starting to train people in person is I get a lot of weight loss population. In fact, I also do Ninja Warrior and parkour coaching. So I've trained kids from the ages of 5 years old and I train older population all the way into the 80s and 90s and everywhere in between. So I've got a large facet of people that I've worked with in the last couple of years. But a lot of it, their focus has been again on weight loss, trying to look better, trying to see the pounds shed off. And as someone who's been through it, I totally understand, but I really work to mentally reshift their focus to thinking about what is it that you want to be able to do in your life? What are the moments that you want to create? because I said yes to myself, 4 to 5 years ago, now I get to say yes to these big world championship stages. Do you want to be able to create moments like that? It's totally not out of reach. It maybe isn't in reach right now, but these are the bigger things that you get to look forward to that are going to create a life just full of joy and excitement, something worth living. So, as a personal trainer and as an online trainer for the UTS team, is I really want to bring this into that, is keep that focus on what it is that we want to be capable of doing, and then really working on building the confidence. Again, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure from a physical perspective, like I'm very methodical in how I put training together. I'll spend a decent amount of time putting together training plans for people and making sure that what they're doing makes sense and that they're not getting burnt out. But that methodical approach also comes from, what are you mentally gaining from each of your workouts? I'm not going to give you something that's totally unrealistic, but I'm going to give you something that's going to push the envelope here and there a little while, because I know that when Kevin did that for me, I was like, this looked impossible, but holy crap, I just did it. And now look at what I'm walking away with. Again, building that confidence and that mental tenacity as an athlete. So that's really what my philosophy is all based around, is, again, we're going to get you to where you need to be. Just trust the process. But more importantly, take the time to really go through each of the training sessions that you're doing, be mentally present, and get something out of each of them that are going to build those little pieces of character that you can take to your start line with. So,
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. So kind of as we wind down here, you talked a lot about, you know, hybrid racing, you talk about, mindset, you talked about your philosophy in training. So I'm thinking about, for the listeners who are looking to restart their training, or they're looking to do something a little bit different than what they've been doing, maybe hybrid racing, what would be the one thing that you would say to inspire them to take that next step?
Mm. That's a really good question. I really believe in the power of the universe, and I believe that it always has your back. I know right now I have some people that I absolutely love in my life that are in some crossroad moments, whether it be athletically, like thinking about what's their next big goal, what's the thing that they want to do and spend their energy and effort on, to career changes, right? Like getting ready to look at doing something completely different with their life. So, the way that I would approach that question is just to trust that the universe always has your back. So give it the opportunity to let it speak to you and listen to it. I've always used that as like my guiding light of just knowing, like, if I just let go and let in what the universe is trying to tell me and look for the signs, it's never going to lead me the wrong way. The worst case scenario is that it's always going to teach me a lesson. So if there's certain things that are knocking on your doors right now, like, listen to it. Doesn't mean you have to go jump into the pool all the way, but just dip your toe in it. Start to learn a little bit about it. See how it makes you feel. And at the same token, too, if you're trying to jiggle the handle on a door that hasn't been opening for quite some time, maybe that's a sign that the universe is trying to protect you from going a specific route. So, again, a little bit of a different perspective there, but really, you guys, this is all about, for me, I know I've said the word joy about a million times, but that's really what I live my life through, is joy. Um, and this is honestly what I'm looking to do at World Championships this year. And for those of you that are attending, I'm so excited to hopefully meet you. But it's not about the moments on the podium. I know those moments are super cool, but let's be honest, they last for 2 to 3 seconds. That excitement does. And then we're always already thinking about either the next race or, what next goal we're going to go after. We're always thinking about what's next. Uh, I really, this year, my biggest thing, my mantra as I go into World Championships, is to chase the moments of joy. Like, every single moment that I'm out there, even the moments up to now, chasing those moments of joy, because again, all of that is sitting right here in front of us every single day. So you get the opportunity to do that. So take the chance to do that. Don't just focus on the outcome. Let go of the outcomes and just get really ingrained in the process.
Love it. Love it. Kayla, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your insights again. This was so much fun. I know we had a lot of fun, interviewing in person, and now we're doing it remote, but either way, you bring so much insights and joy and energy to the conversation. So I appreciate that. So how can our listeners find you and follow you online, and also sign up with you as a coach?
Yeah. So I'm very active on Instagram. I love the Instagram as my main feed there. So you can follow me at Kayla Cittadino. So my it's just my first and last name. So you can find it in the podcast notes, but just at Kayla Cittadino, very active out there. Always throwing up either a really funny video of me and my boyfriend or something related to DEKA or something related to mindset and tacos. So if you're on with that brand, you're definitely going to enjoy the follow. But that's primarily where I play. You could also come listen to my podcast, again, Taco About It Tuesday. I'm on all major streaming platforms. I talk a lot about stuff there, and I have some actual links to, if you want to work with me, you can with me through some of the links that I share in my podcast notes. But yeah, really just those two. If you want to reach out to me via my email, it's just cittadino.kayla@gmail.com. But whatever way, one of those three is great. And I'll be really excited to hear from those of you that are looking to do something different and again, chase those moments of joy.
Love it. Love it. Again, thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it. And, with that, I look forward to seeing you at World Championships. And yeah, have a great day.
You too.